and production of biofuels alone is expected to grow by 19 billion gallons a day. We have a great opportunity with regards to natural gas. I'll speak about it in just a second. But one of the keys to natural gas, it is good for our economy, it's good for our environment, it's good for our energy policy, but it does require a tremendous volume of water to be used to better get that natural gas to market. So we need to be aware of that. There are going to be more and more demands on the very product that you have to provide. However, we have to find a balance in America. Our failure to do so will perhaps mean that the next generations of Americans will be the first generation of Americans that do not have it better than the previous generation. A spike in demand will certainly increase the competition for water in this nation, including drinking water. And it will mean that we as a country will have to focus appropriately on managing the resource. And so those 3 E's will also matter in another area I know your members are involved in, the talk of potential climate change legislation and the science that goes with it. I believe we all share the same concern that proposals such as cap and trade would have a huge impact on the primary producers of energy in this nation. The estimates on the last version of such a plan would be anywhere from $50 billion to $300 billion, and we all know that those costs will have to be passed on. And for rural water systems already dealing with the high cost of starting up or expanding and meeting clean water regulations, another expense could be devastating. The United States Department of Agriculture estimated in the last fiscal year that it had funded $2.5 billion in rural water and wastewater projects and still had $1.3 billion backlog of applications for aid, and has already been given notice of another $3 billion coming. I think it's time for this nation to get serious about providing clean, dependable, and affordable water to every rural community in this country. Our health depends upon it, and I think our economies of our rural communities depend on it as well. Let us realize that every day of our careers, there are going to be challenges as we try to manage the things that we have to manage. And I believe, again, the greatest burden of this generation will be to figure out that balance. And you may be thinking, I thought I came here to a Rural Water Association, but this seems to be an energy conversation. I just believe that it's so important for you to understand how critical it is to us to reach that balance between energy and environment in this nation. And I absolutely believe that water is going to be in the very bullseye of that. And I think it's important. I don't think it's a message that you're probably hearing in other areas, and you will have many distinguished speakers during this conference that will share things with you. But I wanted to put that on your radar screen. And it's about focus, and I want to share a personal story with you about focus, because I believe that the hardest thing for government has to do is to focus. There are a lot of bright, shiny objects, and we go through an election process, and we change leaders, as so we should. And it's the best system in the world, but it's not perfect. And it causes us sometimes to lose focus. And I was on a vacation one time. I had just been elected as a parish president, what you would call a county commissioner. And it was a tough year, and it was the year 2000, and my wife and I, we have 5 kids, and I decided I was going to take my family on a vacation. And we were going to leave South Louisiana, and we were going to drive up to Minnesota. And that was during the month of December. And that was the first mistake, that I would drive as a country boy from a small South Louisiana community all the way up to Minnesota. And it was so cold that year, that particular time of the year, that in Shreveport, Louisiana, it actually snowed for the Independence Bowl, and I'm on my way to Minnesota, so you can begin to figure out what I'm going through. And so we didn't have the resources to fly, and as I said, we drove, and we got the SUV, we loaded up the wife and the 5 kids, and I was pulling a U-Haul, and I thought I'd bring some of the things up to my sister up there. In between Alexandria, Louisiana, and Natchitoches, Louisiana, on Interstate 49, there's not a whole bunch. And in fact, I don't even know if at that particular point 10 years ago, there was a whole bunch of civilization in that little area on Interstate 49. It was a recently completed area. And my wife leans over and she says, Scott, this story's about losing focus, y'all. And my wife leans over and says, Scott, I think you're almost out of gas. And I looked and I said, well, I'm thinking to myself. She said, we're going on a 23-hour trip. And an hour and a half into the trip, we already almost out of gas. If this would have been one of your constituents calling about the garbage being picked up, oh, you would have took care of that. If this would have been one of your constituents talking about a pothole, you would have took care of that. But we got your family right here, your 5 kids, we're on Interstate 49, and you didn't even fill up to go to Minnesota? I mean, what kind of leader are you? And I said, don't worry, baby, don't worry. We'll get off the interstate. And, of course, it's dark, and we're trying to, I'm doing my thing, and I got the little pucker factor going because I'm not so sure I'm going to make it, And I get off the first exit, and there's nothing. I get back on. I get back off, get back on, and clearly there is not anything there to be found. And I'm beginning to go through my options. One of my options is that I would stay in the vehicle with my 5 kids and I'd send my wife to go get gas. Or she would stay with the 5 kids, and I would go get gas, and I didn't like either one of those options, but the first one appealed to me a whole lot more. But anyway, and of course, there was a no service light on with the cell phone, and we do what every one of you have done from one time to another. We actually make it to that gas station in Natchitoches, Louisiana, and we run out of gas at the gas pump, and my wife says, I think we're going to sleep here tonight. I'm like, well, we're on a 23-hour trip. We can't sleep here. We're an hour and a half into this deal. There's no way we can do that. Yeah, I'm so stressed out. There's no way I can get back on the road. So, of course, being the real man I am, I start unloading and say, yes, ma'am. And we end up staying there in Natchitoches. And the next morning she gets up and she says, look, we got a new rule today. And that rule is when we get to a quarter of a tank, we're going to stop and get gas. We're not going to do this again. I said, oh, okay, that's not bad. She said, no, I want to make sure you understand. Not when we get to a quarter of a tank, when we burn a quarter of a tank, we're going to stop and get gas. I don't trust you, and I just want to make sure that we do this. So, every 42 miles, we get in and off the interstates of America, and we stop in Texarkana, Arkansas, and we buy a few things at the Walmart there, and we put some of those things behind the vehicle in the SUV, and we put some of those things in the U-Haul, and we going down the road, and now we're in the state of Iowa. It's minus 35 windshield factor, and my wife is running out of film that she bought at Texarkana Walmart for her little camcorder. So she signals to the kids in the back, hey, look in the back, or I'll put one of those bags. I think my film is in there. Would you get it for me? And the kids can't find it, and she's kind of starting to get a little aggravated. She didn't want to miss any of the landscape for her little home video. I was like, look, not to worry. We'll be stopping to get gas soon, and we can look. And sure enough, we stop in Iowa, and I unlock the U-Haul. I said, maybe you put it in the U-Haul, and I'll, do a roll top. And I said, look, just get in there and look, and I'll, put the gas, go inside to pay for my gas and get my hot chocolate. And she comes in to meet me and says, I cannot, and this story is about losing focus, y'all. She said, I cannot find that bag. I don't know where it's at. And I said, well, certainly we bought it. I had the receipt in my pocket. I said, we bought it. We paid for it. And, we put it, I'm sure we put it in the back. Why don't you just go look in the back again, somewhere. So she said, okay, why don't you go ahead and get me some hot chocolate too. I do that, finish my transaction, get to the vehicle, open the door, put my hot chocolate and her hot chocolate into the console, and I take off, and we are rolling. And I'm kind of, just in my own world. This story is about losing focus. And Jean-Paul, who is our youngest son and by far his mother's favorite, says, Daddy, where's Mama? And I said, well, Mama's in the back looking for the film. And in South Louisiana, we got the back, and in the third seat at the SUV is the back. So he said, Mama's not in the back. I said, well, I think Mama's in the back. And he said, he jumps over and he comes back. He said, Daddy, he's like 5 years old. He said, Mama's not in the back, and Mama's not in the back. I think Mama's in the back of that thing we pulling behind our truck. And sure enough, I pull over on Interstate 35 in the state of Iowa, and out comes my wife in the back of that U-Haul. When I told her to go look in the back, I understood she was going in the back of the SUV, and she thought I was instructing her to go in the U-Haul. And I completely lost focus. And that story is a true story, and I'll share it with you because how hard could it be? I mean, it's difficult for a man who's traveling with a woman for 20 hours, who's the mother of his 5 kids, to get on the road and not know where she's at. And I'll share that story with you because, again, it's true. And number 2, I think it does bring for you all something that is very obvious, and that is it's easy to lose focus. It's easy to lose focus in government. It's easy to lose focus on what you do. And I think that I would certainly encourage you to be about focus. I would encourage you to understand the vital statistics of your organization, what drives your success, for your board of directors to stay focused, to know what's important, to make sure that you can stay in balance. Because the loss of focus, it doesn't take long. I think we found out in this country that when we lose focus, when we take a few things for granted, some things don't end up the way we want. Finally, in closing, I'd like to share with you, you all aware of this tragedy we have in the Gulf of Mexico. I will be testifying tomorrow in Washington, D.C., to the Presidential Commission on the Gulf Oil Spill, talking about a few things here. But it's important, as you have again been called to come to our assistance in a different way this time. We needed you physically 5 years ago, and many of you responded and provided tremendous, tremendous resources. What I want to tell you is that I think it's important. The number one group of people that have been negatively impacted by this oil spill, obviously, the lives of and the families of the lost Americans. I get that, and you get that as well. But the fishing industry, and understand that the number one tourist asset we have in this state is our food. That's a historical, that's not what I believe, that's not what I think, that is what I know, that's what people for 25 years have told us. That the number one reason people come to Louisiana, they come for a lot of reasons. They come for our music, they come for our culture, they come for our history, they come for our coastal marshlands, they come for our hunting and our fishing, they come for a lot of things. But the number one reason people come here is for our cuisine. And that has been negatively impacted because of some of the images. Unfortunately, those images are not reality because we have had several seafood tests that have been done, and independent after independent report indicates that our seafood is healthy. I am hopeful that during your time here, you are enjoying some of that. And to borrow from Forrest Gump, y'all remember the story, Forrest Gump's wartime partner, tell them they can get all the shrimp barbecue, shrimp balls, shrimp broil, shrimp baked shrimp, pan-fried shrimp, deep-fried shrimp, stir-fried shrimp, shrimp kebab, shrimp creole, shrimp gumbo, pineapple shrimp, lemon shrimp, coconut shrimp, pepper shrimp, shrimp stew, shrimp soup, shrimp salad, shrimp potato, shrimp burger, shrimp sandwich, and any other way they want it. Okay? Y'all know the movie I'm talking about. The one thing that you can do in addition to praying for us, and as we agree to pray for you, is that instead of eating seafood one time a week when you go back home to 49 other states, that you eat it twice a week. And you demand in your marketplaces, you demand in your restaurants, when you go, that you ask for Louisiana seafood. If we would do that, if every American would double down on their purchases of seafood, and what kind of sacrifice is that really when you stop and think about it? I don't want to hurt my friends in Iowa. I love Iowa beef. And we got a lot of protein there, and I get it. And I would just say that now is a time for all of us to come together, and if we will double down on our seafood purchases, I believe that we can help again, and before long we will be back along our way. Again, on behalf of a grateful state, I thank you for the tremendous help that you gave us 5 years ago. We hope that we never, ever, ever have to pay you back for it, but know that we are a state that is ready to respond at a moment's notice. And the beauty of a union is to be a part of a family, and certainly we are part of that great family. And as we say in Louisiana, a couple different ways, as you go and you do the hard work that you have to do, you would say, let the good times roll, and we would say, laissez les bon temps rouler. Thank you all very much for having me, and have a great trip.